the starting of our meetings, especially this time of the year when everybody has multiple things on their schedule and have a lot of things to do. But let me begin by welcoming everyone to the Recovery Plan Advisory Committee meeting today. I realize it's a busy time of the year, probably not the best week to hold such a meeting, but I'm thankful for those of you who could make time in your day to attend. Let me tell you a little bit about what we're doing today. We're going to have an update from Julie Maloney on our high school transportation. And this issue emerged right at the very beginning of our Recovery Plan Advisory Committee meetings with one of our committee members asking us to examine how we could possibly provide transportation for our high school students. And as you know, we're in financial recovery. We don't have a lot of funds available. So we looked at creating a partnership, and that partnership was created through the good work of Julie Maloney and the staff at Scranton School District and Colts Bus Services. So we're going to talk a little bit about that process and then show you the results to date of that. We're also going to have Mr. Pat Laffey provide an update of the 22 budget. As you all know, we are on a calendar year budget. Our budget starts January 1st. It ends December 31st. 498 school districts in the state of Pennsylvania are on a fiscal year budget, which is a July 1st to June 30th budget. However, Scranton and Pittsburgh are on the calendar year budget. So Mr. Laffey will update us on where we are with the 2022 budget and how we were able to provide for and accommodate the changes that to the SFT contract, because we settled the contract since our last meeting. 2022 and beyond is a presentation that Missy McTiernan, our superintendent, will give you, and it will be a bit of a look forward at what we're going to expect to accomplish and a vision for the district. I'd like to do some introductions. I know we have some new people on this call. And then, of course, I'll provide the announcement of our next meeting. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Julie Maloney. And Julie has taken over transportation. Julie will show you some graphs. And if you recall, and if you've been an active member of this committee, we linked bus transportation and attendance together. And we're hoping with better attendance, we'll have better academics for those students. Students who come to school every day, we know, have a better chance of being successful than those who don't. And without further ado, Julie, would you like to share your information with us?
Sure. Thanks, everybody. Dr. Finan mentioned that, I was working on this, but it could not have been done without the people who helped in this. Colts, I can't say enough about how helpful, cooperative they were in the beginning. We went to all the orientations, the student and the parent orientations. They continue to help our parents. They give out, I'm free to give their phone numbers. They've been great with any questions or concerns or altering schedules. They've been fantastic. So like Dr. said, this is just a brief overview of what we've come to find so far. What happens, how this data is collected. The schools, when they distribute a pass, they make their notes in the school. I gather that information at the end of every month. So the information I'm going to give you today is from September and October. We did not have data for November. We were only in school for 5 days. So there were not passes that were distributed during that month. They are gathering the data this week. I will have December's at the end of the month. So as of the end of October, we had distributed 112 passes. Of those 112 passes, the average rate of attendance was 92%. That's for both of our high schools. In September, when we started the school year, at Westside High School, we gave out 34 passes. Scranton High, we gave out 31. And the average attendance of those students at both high schools was, again, 92%. In October, we gave out 35 passes at Westside, only 12 at Scranton High. West High's attendance was about 93%. Scranton High's was about 92%. Couple things I did want to point out to you. We had 65 students who received passes in September. 30 of those students got a second pass in October, and you can see the breakdown of the schools. 17 additional students requested passes from either of our high schools in October. So to date, 82 individual students have benefited from the program that we have running, which, you know, we have about 850 students who live 2 or more miles away from the school. Keep in mind that in those 850 students, we have students who are already receiving specialized transportation for, sorry, for their individual needs. We have transitional housing where students, you know, are not in a permanent residence. We have kids who can drive. So, you know, right now, helping 82 students, I think, is a good thing compared to the 82 that we didn't help last year.
Mhm.
Does anybody have any questions for me on this?
Julie, do we have any figure on what the average attendance at the high schools is for comparison?
I did not compare the total attendance at the high schools. I certainly can.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
It is something that we'll come back and revisit, since this was an initiative from this committee. I think it's fair to come back maybe at the end of January, February, Julie, maybe in the colder months. We'll even have more students asking for the passes. If you recall, we've tied this to our ESSER 1 monies, and we are reimbursing the cost of the passes through our ESSER 1. If we see significant, and I think we're already seeing significant attendance, as you know, some of our attendance at our high school was ranging in the high 70% range. But with these students, we have 92 and 93% on the average at this point. That's good. We're happy about that. We want students to come to school. We know that there's a better chance that they can be successful when we can have them in the seats and teaching them. So, Julie, thank you for your work, and we'll continue to update this throughout our recovery plan meetings. And at the end of the year, we'll have a full report for you all.
Thank you. And again, thank you, and Merry Christmas to everybody. Have a healthy, happy, safe New Year.
Thanks, Julie. Same to you. The budget review, Mr. Laffey, I'll ask you to share your information.
Absolutely. Good afternoon, everyone. The last time we met, I believe, was just before Thanksgiving. So at that time, the board had adopted our proposed final 2022 budget. Since then, the final budget has been adopted, and with modifications made for the final adoption, that included the implementation of the impact of the SFT contract. So I'm going to show you a summary of what I believe I presented last time, which is the proposed final and the amendments made to reflect the final allocation. So I'm going to share my screen here just a moment. All right. So on October 25th, the board again adopted a proposed final budget consisting of a fund balance of 12.3 million, beginning fund balance 12.3 million, revenues just shy of 185, and expenses of 181, which would leave us with a budgetary reserve of 3.9 million. Had that been adopted and everything came in as anticipated, we would have ended the year with a fund balance of $16.2 million. Obviously, since that time, we're very fortunate to have come to an agreement with the SFT, which provides up to 5 step movements of one-time payment of 4 years of retroactivity, and various other changes related to healthcare and some other ancillary things like covered classes, et cetera. So we're going to go through the impact of that and how it plays into the 2022 budget. So in 2022, the district has committed to paying 2 installments of the 4 of retroactivity. we're actually making our first installment tomorrow. And installments 2 and 3 will be paid in 2022. The impact for the paraprofessional group, we estimate that to be $130,000 of expense, offset by an increase in our reimbursement rate for FICA and PSERS of $28,000. For the teachers group, we estimate the retroactivity payments to be a total of $3.3 million in 2022, with offset by a increase in our PSERS reimbursements of $728,000. Now we go to the step impact. Anyone who was an employee of the district as of 16-17 in the 16-17 school year had the ability to move 5 steps, which is for 17-18 to 21-22. And obviously anyone hired after that, those dates would move, the steps commensurate with their years of service. The impact on salary and PSERS on expenditures for the para group, we estimated in 2022 to be just shy of $730,000. Again, offset by approximately $160,000 of increase in our reimbursement from the state for the PSERS and FICA. And the impact of a teacher salary movement is a total of $9.8 million, offset by approximately $2.1 in reimbursement for the FICA and the PSERS. We also added, I believe it was 1% to the coaching salary scale. So there's a minor impact there. We had some amendments to the employees with the individual contracts. We also wanted to add some support services. So nothing's been decided upon, but we wanted to make sure that the budget had enough funds to provide for a more enhanced program with our board docs. The business office is looking at a program called Forecast 5. Forecast 5 is used throughout many school districts throughout the state, and helps with financial reporting, financial projections, and the operations is looking to consider and present to the board like a workflow management tool that with all of our capital projects going on should prove to be beneficial. Again, no products have been selected or determined, but we wanted them. They will all be presented to the board for consideration with presentations, and we just wanted to make sure that the budget was there to cover it. To offset some of those increases in the negotiated contract, there were some healthcare plan design changes, and we anticipated a savings or a reduction of our expense of about $1.8 million. And the additional teaching period, it was negotiated that any teacher hired after the July 1st of 2021 would be eligible to teach an additional teaching period. It allowed us to establish a pool of candidates to start to utilize in the 21-22 school year. And, we estimate approximately by, being able to cover those classes without a compensation, a reduction in our extra duty pay of just shy of 76. Anytime you increase your expenditures, you would also increase the base of which your charter cyber tuition rates are determined. So based off of our current enrollment and the additional expenditures added to our budget, we could see charter cyber increases of around 1.2. We had worked with the Pennsylvania Department of Education to explore other allowable uses for expenditures that the district had already committed to in the budget to free up some funds to help balance this budget. Some of it includes technology that is qualified or reimbursable under ESSER 3, classroom materials that we utilize to offset learning loss. And one of the biggest pieces of it is our indirect cost rate. We have applied last year. We applied for an indirect cost rate. We were approved, and we are able to charge indirect expenses against the grant for all the administrative and overhead and oversight of the grant that the district provides. So That's all inclusive in this increase in our revenue side of approximately 7 million. At final adoption, we had not met the requirements to convert to a payroll preparation tax as set forth by the motion, which was to eliminate an anticipated revenue shortfall in the year. So we opted to remain with the business privilege mercantile tax at that time. By doing so, the preliminary budget anticipated a shortfall of 1.1 million. So by maintaining the BP Merc, we added back about 1.1 million to our local revenue source. This allows us to adopt a budget of 196,085,000 with 196,085,000 of expenses inclusive of a 1.67 million budgetary reserve. So we were still able to maintain a budgetary reserve even with the inclusion of some of those increased costs that we highlight above. A more detailed presentation has been uploaded to the district's business office page where all of our budgets and financial reports are maintained. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions for Pat at this time?
Okay.
Pat, thank you very much. And I think it goes without saying that the board and the administration worked very hard. And we're very pleased that there's been an SFT settlement for the teachers and the paraprofessionals, and that we actually, I think you did a wonderful job showing us how we are paying the retroactive payments and how it fits very nicely into the 2022 budget. And of course, we know that we have 4 of those payments, the first of which will go out tomorrow, but we will also be paying for 2 of those payments in the 2023 budget year as well. So thank you for that, Pat, and I appreciate your work and your hard work and everyone's hard work on that.
Thank you. If I can add just one more thing, and I think this is well known, but obviously this did not require a tax increase for the Scranton School. So I just wanted to make sure that was pointed out again. So
that's correct. And that was part of one of the goals that we had when we were trying to settle the contract, because we were in the process of finalizing our budget. So I think people worked really hard to accomplish those goals. So thank you very much. With that, I'd like to introduce our superintendent, Missy McTiernan, and Missy is going to show you a plan, a bit of a view into 2022 school year. Missy? Thank you.
Thanks, Doctor. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to go through a presentation that I created that is an overview of, and to be honest with you, it's not everything that we're working on, but it highlights some of the areas that we are concentrating on right now as we move forward for now, for the present, and for the future. So the 5 areas that I'm going to talk about tonight are the academics piece, student support systems, budget and finance, capital improvements, and to hire and retain high quality staff. And again, I think I've noted and I've stated, but I want to stress, these are by no means everything that we're working on, but some of the areas that I've decided to highlight for today. So I think I skipped one. So the first area I'm going to talk about is academics. We all know that with COVID and with our students being in a different setting for so long, that we have a lot of work to do with regards to learning loss and all of the things that we've been talking about. Besides all of that, the curriculum piece is an ongoing issue that we need to continue to focus on. Curriculum is ongoing, changes daily, and that's something that Paul and Ann have been focusing on within their own departments. So we're going to continue to deliver a K-12 curriculum that is up to date and reviewed consistently. And that's something that we're really focusing on. The next thing I want to talk about is our implementation of our new educational resources. So we were fortunate enough to receive ESSER funds that we were able to provide some resources that were desperately needed in this district. We still need many resources, but we were fortunate enough to get a math and to an ELA. And again, it's not just, we used to have to buy K-6 and then years later, 7 through 12. We were fortunate enough to be able to buy K-12 series, which is so important for consistency. So the important piece here is that we're fully implementing them with fidelity in every classroom. That's number one. And number two is to provide the professional development that our teachers need. So that's something that we are working on and will continue to work on. The next piece is a comprehensive extracurricular programming. And what I mean by that is for all students. So I'm not looking at any specifics, but I'm looking at, student government opportunities, community service, employments, the arts, educational clubs, partnerships with colleges. There's so many opportunities for our kids, but there's so much more out there. So we need to take advantage of that. So again, Mr. Doherty, Mrs. Grieback have been doing a really good job with Johnson College and Lackawanna College and getting our students out to provide them with opportunities that they deserve. So we're going to continue to focus on that. The next piece is the development of our school improvement plan. So each year, and I'm not sure that everyone knows this, but Title I funding, any school that receives Title I funding, they have to, it's mandatory each year that they put together a school improvement plan. And when they put this together, it has to be based on data. And then the expectation is that you take that Title I money and based on the goals of the school improvement plans, that's where the money goes. So I think this might be a good point that I can make, and I know I hear over and over again, where did the money go with the pre-K? Where did that go? I continuously hear that. So we all know that K-12, we are obligated to educate our students K-12. Pre-K is not mandatory. That money, and besides how you feel about that, that money now that we're using, for example, we have been able to, we have currently 21 Title I reading specialists, 11 math interventionists, 4 school counselors, and 1 crisis counselor. So to answer the question of, I know we continuously hear, where did that money go? What we have done is when the schools, the building principals with their team, create a school improvement plan, which is based on, again, academic, behavioral, mental health needs. Then they put the goals together. They identify in their building what they need. Obviously, we all know that our scores are nowhere near where we need them to be. So some of the things that we are putting in place are these math interventionists and reading specialists to help our students. So I just wanted to highlight exactly what that means. Schools that are not Title I, we also have them have a school improvement plan. So everybody is working on a plan, working on goals to address the need in their building. So I just wanted to provide a little bit of that data. By no means all of the information, but hopefully that will explain a little bit of where some of that money is going towards other goals that we have in the building. And then the last thing I want to talk about under academics is the implementation of our new STEM Academy. So Mrs. Miller has been working behind the scenes on a plan, and we are well on our way. And that is all happening in the background, and we look forward to the implementation of that academy and to show that off, because I really believe that that's something that's going to be unique to Scranton and something we're all going to be very proud of. The next thing I want to highlight is our student support systems. I think now more than ever, this has become a focus more and more every day. And what I mean by that is I believe that the situation that we're facing right now in our schools with COVID, and I think our students need a lot of support. And when I say a lot of support, I'm not just talking about academic, I'm talking about mental health and within the school. So this we have been working very hard on, and we're going to continue to, because we have a lot of work to do. So we want to continue to fully implement a tiered intervention system. And when I talk about tiered intervention system, again, it's a model, it's research-based, and it's based on what students need. And I think that's the key point here is every individual student is different. And we're doing a really, our teachers are doing a really good job, and we have to continue to do a really good job identifying what it is our students need academically, behaviorally, and mental health. And then I think it's our job to figure out a way to get those services and continue to get those services into school. We want to continue to work on restructuring services in the special education department so that there's an equitable continuum of services. Dr. Baddick does a really good job of this. We continue to do that. I think you've seen how we are shifting towards regional sites. And as we continue to shift towards regional sites, that gives us an opportunity to make sure that everything that's at one site is at another site. And that came right out of our special ed audit. So that's continuous. We will continue to work on that. We need to improve our district crisis safety plans, which includes crisis management, behavior modification, de-escalation, and that's providing professional development to everybody involved that deals with the students on a day-to-day basis. We want successful implementation of our new cell program. Mr. Gentileza is doing a great job leading that. We have trainings going on over in between Christmas and New Year's with our staff. And he is doing, that's a rollout. That's a very big initiative. A lot of time has gone into it. And I can't wait to see the direct impact that has on all of our school buildings. And then the last item under this is prioritized based on funding, the hire of additional mental health professionals, school counselors, social workers, school psychologists to support our students. Just one thing to note, we are hiring an additional guidance counselor right now to assist with our cyber program, which continues to grow. And also this individual will also assist in some of our other schools. So that is one thing that we are continuing to work on, and I can note that we are hiring somebody as we speak for that position. The next focus will be on budget and finance, and I think we're really proud of where we've come in a couple years. There's been some really hard decisions that have had to been made. But where we are today and where we were 2 years ago, I think we're headed in the right direction. Part of what we continue to do, again, is to keep the focus on what we need to do within our buildings. So we never want to get into a position that we were in 2 years ago, where we had outdated resources and materials for our kids, and there was no plan, and we didn't know how we were going to pay to get our kids new resources. So we want to continue that cycle. We want to have a cycle, and we want that budgeted for as we move forward. We want to continue to review all of our contracts, analyze cost savings, accuracy, and language, which we are doing. And Mr. Laffey does a really nice job of that. And we'll continue to do that. Right now, we're working on our transportation RFP, and we should have a recommendation to the board in a special meeting on January 3rd for our transportation services. We have been working on restructuring of the business office, which we are moving into our final phase. So that should be up and coming for our board consideration. And then the last is another topic that has been on many people's, the conversation of many regarding how are we going to reintroduce some of the programs that have been eliminated. So, and again, everything has to align with the recovery plan and the budgeting process. So just to be transparent, obviously everybody knows that we've just passed the budget. Our calendar, because of the way which Dr. Finan started up by saying, because of how our budget cycle runs, which is very unique, there's only 2 of us in the state, we run from January to January. Okay, within that January to December 31st, excuse me. Within that time period, so right now we're moving into our new budget cycle in January 1 of 2022. until December 31st of 2022. To be transparent, there are no reintroductions of programs that are in that budget cycle. Okay, so when the questions are asked when we're going to reintroduce, normally you would reintroduce programs in September. So if you follow what I'm saying is, so that everybody understands, there's nothing in the budget that would add something that would be budgeted for this September of 2022. So what we are doing now, a lot of work is going on behind the scenes, but realize this budget, we didn't have a tax increase. We were concentrating on a teacher contract. So in a situation of a district like ours, where, you know, it's a math problem. So at this point, we are going to look at the board priorities, and then we're going to analyze where we're at and how we can start implementing programs back in. But for September of 2022, there is nothing budgeted to add a program. Obviously, with adding a program is adding staff. Adding staff is adding cost. So there we will be having those discussions. We will be deciding moving forward, what is it that we're going to reintroduce? Is it going to be reintroduced the same way? Or does it need to be up to 21st century standards? Which obviously I believe everybody would know that answer. And then how are we going to do it? How are we going to phase it in? And what is it that we're looking at? So that's just I know that's another question that I have been asked. And I know that there's been a lot of talk about that. So that's where we are right now. Any decision to add without being budgeted for, obviously we're headed right in the direction of where we came from in the past. And that's not something that we're interested in doing, is going back in debt. So we will budget. It is a priority of the administration and the board to reintroduce some of the programs that have been eliminated. We just have to do it the right way. The next thing that we have is capital improvements. So, you know, I'm really proud again of where we've come. We still have work to do with regards to improving our buildings. So we have to, again, everything I'm talking about today is a plan, and we have to make the plan happen based on the money that we have. That's just the facts. So we want to continue our short-term and long-term facility evaluation and planning. Mr. Rucker is doing a really good job of that, working with Dewey. The board is prioritizing, we're giving them options, and then we're moving forward on things we can afford. Obviously, the safety and health of our students and staff takes a priority. Some things need to be moved to the top based on what it is that has to happen. We want to forecast. Again, we want to get into the planning stage. I think we've spent a lot of time playing catch up because there was no plan. So I'm really working with my staff, department by department, to get a plan, and then how are we going to pay for it, and then put it into motion. So again, the operations department needs to project what it is that needs to be done in the buildings, when it needs to be done, and a lot of the work needs to be done in the summer, and then how much time it needs so that we make sure we're ready to open for our students. We want to prioritize our improvement based on funding. That's common sense. And then the last piece that Mr. Rucker is working on is a preventative maintenance plan. So that, again, we're not playing catch up. You're always going to have emergencies. We know that. We have a lot of buildings. We have older buildings, but the amount of emergencies that we have, I could say daily, maybe they're getting a little better weekly now, are unacceptable. So we need to have a better plan so that things are in order. And then when it comes time for emergencies, we have the finances to take care of those emergencies. And again, that's just planning. So we're doing, as I'm listening to myself, I'm repeating myself, planning is so important. And the last piece I want to talk about is to hire and retain high quality staff. We're the central level staff, myself, we're only as good as our teachers are. That's the bottom line. If we have no staff, we have no district, we have no support to take care of our kids. And we know that. We appreciate everything our teachers, our paraprofessionals, our maintenance, everybody does every day. They are valued, and we need to make sure that they know that they're taken care of. They make the money that they should be making as we move forward. And again, that's all about planning. So we want to, number one, strengthen our relationship with college and universities so that we become a pipeline for future employees. So when they get done in the education field, they want to come to Scranton. So we need to continue to work on that. We need to improve our professional development opportunities for staff with the best possible professional development that they need, not what we need, what the teachers need. We need to provide continuous feedback. Our principals need to be in their classrooms. It needs to be a very positive atmosphere where we are providing positive feedback on their performance. We need to continue to offer our SSD job fairs. I'm going to give Mr. Doherty kudos to this, because when I say to them all the time, think outside the box, this was totally his think outside the box. And I think it was an awesome idea, and they've been fairly successful. So thank you to Mr. Doherty on that. Thank you to everybody else helped out on that. And the last thing is, I don't ever want to be in a position that we were just in, where I want contract negotiations with all bargaining units to be on time. Everybody deserves a contract. Everybody deserves a fair contract. Nobody should go 5 years without a contract. And so I don't ever want to be in that position again. And I'm hoping we're able to, I'm hoping I can make that happen. So with that being said, I apologize if I went fast, but I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody may have.
Missy, it's
Yes,
very comforting
Director
to
Hill.
see that instead of always being in the short term, that there's a long-term view and plan. That is so reassuring for all of us to know that we're not just bouncing like the pinballs in a pinball machine to each crisis, but that you and your staff have put together something that is really a complementary roadmap to the recovery plan that works hand in glove with the recovery plan, and will move us forward where we go clearly and with good guidelines. So thank you. It's a nice Christmas present for the board to have that kind of confidence that there is comprehensive planning in every area. And my only question is, when do you sleep?
I go to, I go to bed early, Director Hume, when I can. No, thank you. I honestly, I just say it how it is. I couldn't do it without support from the board. So I have been lucky to be in this position, to have a supportive board, and the assistance of Dr. Finan, and I have the best team. I'm angry at Mr. Doherty, but I'm happy for him for that he deserves to be a superintendent. He's going to be great, but I have a great team. I'm lucky, great board. We can accomplish a lot, and we've done that already. So thank you to everybody that's on this call for your support. We've gone through some difficult times, but I think we're heading in the right direction. And I just want to say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everyone.
Thank you, Missy, and thank you, everyone. I'd like to take an opportunity to say, I think today you should feel really confident that we are headed in the right direction at Scranton. I'm very pleased that this year alone, we settled the 32 BJ contract, the SFT contract for the teachers, as well as the paraprofessionals, and the Act 93 agreement. That's unprecedented. I mean, that was a lot of work. The board worked very hard and accomplished that. That in and of itself was a huge goal, along with everything else I think you heard today. And I'm very pleased with where we are today. And I'm excited about where we're moving to in the future. Like to take an opportunity to thank Katie Gilmartin and Catherine Fox for their leadership. They were, Katie, as you know, was served as president and Catherine as vice president, and their reign ended at the beginning of December. We have on this call, I believe, two new board members, Ty Holmes and Danielle Chezik. I'd like to welcome them to the board and thank you for attending today's meeting. And I'd like to congratulate Tara Yanni for her role as new role as president and Ro Hume as vice president of the board. I think under great leadership, we can accomplish great things for Scranton moving forward. It's my hope that everything that Superintendent McTiernan talked about, retaining high quality staff, improving programs. I never want to see a textbook that's 40 years old that we're using. That's unfair to children. And we won't have that because we have people who understand where we need to spend our money. And it is to develop our programs and our children. And certainly we need high quality staff to do that. And I'm excited about where we're headed. Hard decisions were made to get us to where we are. We can never rest on where we are. We have to always look forward and be conscious of our finances. And that's my role, to always remind everyone of what we can afford and what we can't afford. But I will tell you this, we will find a way to provide the best educational programs for our students here at Scranton. And I'm excited about that. I want to thank the committee members who have been long-term committee members who have attended all the time. They're always, we're very grateful. I know, Mr. Fay, you're always a loyal attendee, and thank you for that. There are a number of people who never miss our meetings. We'll be restructuring only because we've had some people leave. And I have to make sure we have a balance. We need to make sure that we have another superintendent on the committee. So we'll be restructuring that starting in January. But as always, I will always keep it an open committee so that folks can join in and listen to what's happening, because I think you hear good things on this at this meeting. We try to give you a preview of all the things that we're going to be working on. With that, I know it's a busy time of the year. I want to thank everyone. I want to especially thank Julie. I know Julie has a terrible cough, and I think she got out of her sick bed to deliver her program today. So thank you, presentation today. Pat, as always, thank you for your hard work. And Pat is also working on what's called an AFR, our annual financial report. And Pat's the only one who probably will be working on Christmas Day. So kudos to Pat. We're very grateful for everything that he gives to us. And I think you see the leadership that Superintendent McTiernan is going to provide in this next school year. And I call it school year because we're on this budget year starting in January. I'm excited about what you heard today, and I hope you are too. We will always keep in mind that we will be cognizant of the goals in the recovery plan, and we've accomplished many of those. And I will provide a brief overview on January 3rd of those as Ms. Hume has asked for. So thank you. Any further questions before I call this to closure today? Congratulations to everyone. New board members, thanks for joining. Yes.
I would like to include as part of these discussions, what's the glide path out of recovery? I think especially with the securing of the contracts, I really like to know what that is and what we trust the school board and the administration to do and what we need state help with. Sure. So I'd like to see us get out of recovery as soon as possible. And so to have some more stability in the district. So that's what I want to be thinking about in the next year.
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. Fay. I actually will present that at the January meeting. There are some exit requirements for that. And while we're making great strides, we're a bit ahead of where we would be halfway through. But there are some other accomplishments that we need to make. And of course, many of those are academic in nature. So I will share that in January. Thank you. And Roseanne, I believe you are on the call, and thank you because you always make time to attend our meeting. So thank you for that. I appreciate that, Roseanne.
Oh, you're welcome. I hope everyone has a wonderful holiday.
Same to you. And I'd like to end with Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And Mr. Doherty, I too echo the fact that I am very sad that you will be going, but you're only a district away and we know where we can snag you from if we need you. So thank you. Congratulations to your
Thank you very
new,
much. Thank you for everything. I appreciate it.
thank you. And Merry Christmas, Happy New Year and happy holidays. Be safe and be healthy. Thank you.
Happy
Bye,
holidays.
everybody.